The power went out on a night when the wind seemed to have a life of its own. It was almost as if the darkness had crawled into every crevice of my home, making the silence feel thicker. I felt like I had been pulled into a strange pocket of time, where nothing moved, and everything was caught between one moment and the next. I reached for my flashlight, flicking it on with a soft click. It was then that I noticed it, a shadow moving at the end of the hallway. My heart skipped a beat. It was an unsettling shape, stretched and almost fluid in the way it floated. There shouldn't have been anything there. I lived alone. I brushed it off as my mind playing tricks, a product of nerves and darkness. But as I moved through the house, the shadow persisted, darting just out of reach, dancing in the periphery of my vision. Every time I stopped, it seemed to pause too, almost as if it were studying me. I turned away, took a deep breath, and decided to walk toward it, challenging it to reveal itself. The silence amplified the sound of my own breathing as I approached. The closer I got, the clearer the shadow became. A figure with distorted features, hollow eyes that seemed to sink into its face. It was as if it were mimicking me, mirroring my movements, taunting me with its stillness. When I finally reached the end of the hallway, the shadow was gone. But in the lingering silence, I heard something, a faint whisper. It wasn't my imagination. It was a single word, spoken softly but with chilling clarity. Leave. The lights flickered back on, and the hallway was empty. But I'll never forget the stillness of that shadow, nor the strange feeling that something had been waiting for me in the dark. It started as a flicker, just as the last traces of sunlight dipped below the horizon. My room was plunged into darkness, and I felt the chill in the air intensify. I grabbed my phone, its faint glow casting an eerie light around me. It felt like the darkness was alive, closing in and swallowing any sense of safety. I heard the sound first. It was faint, almost inaudible, like someone dragging their hands slowly across the wall. I brushed it off, telling myself it was nothing, but the sound continued, growing louder with each passing second. I could feel my heart pounding, each beat echoing through the stillness. I was about to call out when I heard it. A faint knock, soft yet deliberate, coming from the other side of my door. My heart sank. I was alone in my apartment. Who would be knocking during a blackout? I held my breath, waiting, hoping it was a trick of my imagination. The knock came again, harder this time, almost frantic. I couldn't ignore it. I walked slowly to the door, my hand shaking as I reached for the handle. But before I could touch it, the knocking stopped, replaced by a strange scratching sound, as if someone were clawing to get in. "Who's there?" I whispered, barely able to speak. Silence. Then, a voice. Soft, trembling, almost desperate. "Let me in, please." I stood frozen, my hand hovering over the handle. Something about the voice felt wrong, like it was close but somehow distant, echoing in a way that made my skin crawl. I backed away, pressing myself against the wall, hoping it would go away. The scratching stopped, but as the power flickered back on, I saw something under the door, a faint trail of red leading away from my apartment and disappearing into the darkness of the hallway. The power cut out while I was in bed, a sudden and absolute blackout that left me in complete darkness. I waited for my eyes to adjust, for the faint glow from the streetlight outside to filter through my window. But there was nothing. I reached for my phone, but it wouldn't turn on. Dead battery. I lay there, wrapped in silence, every small sound amplified in the empty darkness. I don't know how long I lay there, staring into the void when I heard it. A quiet, rhythmic breathing, slow and measured. At first, I thought it was my own, but as I listened, I realized it was out of sync. I held my breath, hoping it was just my mind playing tricks. The breathing continued, steady and calm, as if someone were lying beside me. My skin prickled with fear, and I turned slowly, peering into the darkness, straining my ears. The sound was closer than I had realized, almost too close. I whispered, "Is anyone there?" The breathing stopped, replaced by silence so deep it was suffocating. I lay there, afraid to move, every muscle tense. Then, slowly, the bed shifted, sinking slightly, as if under weight. It felt like someone had climbed in beside me, laying down just inches away. I could feel the faint warmth, the press of something unseen. I didn't dare move. I lay frozen, every breath a struggle, feeling that presence next to me, a silent observer in the dark. The air felt thick, heavy, as if something was breathing beside me, watching me. After what felt like an eternity, the lights flickered back on. The bed was empty, and I was alone. But the indentation on the mattress beside me told a different story, a shape that hadn't been there before, as if someone had been lying there all along.